Hi! Another day and another pickups video, except this one has a little twist in it. I'm also including here, I have 4 movies here. I do have actually a bunch of other movies I need to show at some point too, but I wanted to focus on these 4 at this video for a particular reason, which I'm about to get to now. You see, I had a little bit of an existential crisis. Yeah, those are always great. I'm not actually 100% sure how to define the word existential crisis, but I think it's like when you think about stuff too much and everything seems kind of overwhelming and all that. At least that's like one of the definitions, I believe. Anyway, we'll go with that. It was Christmas week, just last week from when I'm telling this story. Everything was jolly. We had Christmas food, we had Christmas presents. I got couple. I didn't want any, but I got couple. I feel like dick for not giving any, but I said no presents. Fuck's the matter with you, women? Yeah, we need to save up some money. Just ignore the part where I bought new movies. So, I heard there was this movie shop in the city of Tampere, which is the greatest city in Finland. Some people might say the greatest city is Turku, or possibly even Helsinki, which is our capital. But if you ask me, they're both coastal cities. I think they should be sawn off the mainland and sent adrift to, I don't know where, Sweden? I couldn't give 2 shits. They could sank and I wouldn't give 2 shits. You know why? Because both of those cities gave us 2 different dialects in Finnish language that make me want to shoot myself. Basically what I'm saying here is they raped the language. Nah, they're both cool. And I'm not just saying that so anyone from Turku or Helsinki would unsubscribe from my channel. You guys are alright too. Anyway, that's beside the point. There was this movie place that I heard about last summer or something, so I kind of always wanted to visit there. There's like an hour drive from here to there, so just never got to. That's a long drive for me. I hate sitting in cars. I like to just drive back and forth long distances. That blows. Anyway, the movie shop I went to, it was called Viiden tähden elokuva divari, which means 5-star movie flea market? Pawn shop? I don't know what I'm curious. Antiquarian bookshop or second-hand bookshop. Except they sold movies and movie-related crap. Antiquarian movie shop, I guess. There's a word I don't get to use too often. Antiquarian. Anyway, so as I step into the place, I see the first shelf. There's a box. There's plenty of movies. I just take a quick browse and I have a certain budget. It wasn't big. It wasn't the smallest, but it wasn't big. Okay, it was around 100 euros. I didn't want to go too much over 100 euros, so yeah. Anyway, I look at the first box and I'm like, okay, that's my budget times 10 because of all the movies I wanted. And that was like the first box, and there was a shelf behind that. I took a peek and holy shit, I went around the corner. Fuck. Took a little peek around the next corner. I wish I had more money. So yeah, after browsing the place like 2 minutes, I came to my existential crisis. I realized something. I'm 41. I'll never be able to watch every movie I want to see during my lifetime. Even if it wasn't a cash problem, still, never. I usually try to watch like 1 movie a day. No chance. I was actually starting to get a bit anxious. I was like, if I would have stayed there, watched every movie, I'd still be there. And also, on top of that, there was also this back room which was bigger. I started to feel bad for my girlfriend, so I tried to be quick, just I want that, I want that, I want that, let's take that one too. But while I was trying to remember how to breathe, I also had this kind of comforting thought that entered my brain too. I'll never have to give 2 shits about what crap Hollywood puts out, because it is mostly soulless crap they put out these days. I'll never have to watch any of those. I have plenty of movies here, right here, in the past, and in the present. And they do still make good movies, indie movies mostly, that I go for, smaller budget stuff. I will say I'm really interested in seeing the new Nosferatu, and every now and then there's something, but if there wasn't any, even then I'd never have to worry about running out of movies. There was boxes and shelves and shelves and boxes, and in those shelves and boxes there was rows of movies, and behind those rows or under those rows there were another rows of movies. There was just endless supply of movies, and they all looked interesting. Great, well, not everything, but a lot of them. From wall to wall, floor to ceiling. movies. It was packed tight. It was kind of a smaller place overall, but it was so jam-packed tight that if you started going forward in one row, you couldn't actually turn around and see what's behind you. You actually had to go twice the same road just to see everything. That was that existential crisis I had when it comes to movies, and at the same time it was kind of a relief. There's so many movies from 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s that I haven't even heard about. But after tightly browsing like 5% of the movies that were in there, I found 4, and I want to show them here, and I'm gonna put them in a order from worst to best, and trust me, none of these were bad. These were all fucking great. I was not disappointed in any of these. But yeah, that was pretty much that epiphany I had in that store, and it kind of put me in ease. So yeah, but at the same time, it did give me a bit of an anxiety problems. I almost started hyperventilating. I just wanted to say that because I never get to use the word hyperventilate on this channel. Anyway, let's take a look at the movies. First movie I bought from there was directed by John Carpenter, and I had never seen this before, which is weird because I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter, but there are a couple of movies from him that I missed, but now I got to see this one. I think everyone's always loving this movie. This was good. I really did enjoy this. Like I said, none of these were disappointments, but I'd have to say this is one of the weaker John Carpenter movies I've seen. Still a great movie, but that's just because John Carpenter is fucking master when it comes to directing movies, making movies. And the movie I have is Prince of Darkness.
Anyone in close proximity has the same dream.
Starring Donald Pleasence, Lisa Blount, and Victor Wong, and Jameson Parker, and a few others. I like the cast, but I gotta say in this, my biggest problem was the cast was kind of mild. Really interesting movie. I mean, I really dug the idea. Donald Pleasence is a priest, and one day he goes into the church's basement and finds this green liquid, green shit. So then he gets a bunch of theoretic physics students and their teacher, played by Victor Wong. I love Victor Wong. Victor Wong, you can't go wrong with Victor Wong.
Maybe he's anti-God, bringing darkness instead of light.
They go and study the green liquid and what the hell is it, and this is kind of really a curious take on, I believe, Antichrist, Satan, devil, all that whole evil thing, evil versus good. Really unique viewpoint to the matter. The green liquid is actually turning people into kind of zombies or these kind of cult members, whatever. They're not like zombies, like they can talk, but they're just a little cuckoo. I mean, they start killing people, so yeah.
I've got a message for you, and you're not going to like it.
Look at his chest.
So it turns people it gets into this members of this satanic cult, pretty much. I don't think I've ever heard a plot like that in a movie, in a satanic cult movie. That's a new one. It's got some gruesome scenes. Donald Pleasence, I like him in especially like Halloween. He's great as Dr. Loomis, but in this one he's a priest, so I found it to be pretty boring. Got nothing against him as an actor, but in this one he was priest, so he couldn't be really like that outlandish or anything, but I don't know. My biggest problems with this movie was it did move kind of slow at times, and the cast was mostly they felt a bit sedated. The main hero guy, one of the students, had like this plain mustache and nice clean hair. He looked like everyday student pretty much. Apart from Victor Wong, I didn't find much of the characters that exciting when it comes to their appearances and their mannerisms. Throughout the movie they did grow on me though, but yeah, that's kind of one of my gripes. I don't know, it felt like the most mundane cast, except Victor Wong. Also, I feel like this should have been maybe a bit more gorier. Maybe throw in a bit more grosser stuff than it had. It had good scenes, good gross, gory scenes, but I feel like they wanted to be able to sell this movie to a certain age group, stay away from that rated R or whatever. I mean, this is UK Blu-ray and the age limit is 15, when usually it's 18 when you want to go to real gory stuff. I don't know, I feel like this would have benefited from that a bit more. But really interesting and unique premise and viewpoint to the whole Antichrist, Satan, good versus bad thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was a really good movie, and yeah, I'm gonna definitely watch this again at some point. So I dug it. Like 80s religious horror and a bit of a gruesome stuff, this one's for you. It's really good. Next movie I have is not a remake, and it's not a sequel, even though it sounds like it could be both. But yeah, it's a movie called The Good, The Bad, The Weird.
Into some dark
Obviously, the name takes influences from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which was that one of the best. Well, it was the best Western ever made. But nope, this one's not that. I mean, this one actually has those characters. The good, the bad, and, well, the weird, not the ugly. Also, the plot of this movie is there's one map that leads to a treasure, which is kind of like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. They were looking for a treasure, and three guys who are after that. This is a South Korean movie, and I loved this. This was great. When it comes to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I'd have to say this felt more like one of those old school Indiana Jones movies. I'm talking about the first three, and forget the two last ones. I haven't actually seen the last one, but I'm not even interested. But yeah, I really dug the action scenes. They really reminded me of like Indiana Jones, maybe Uncharted games or something like that. Sometimes the action scenes are big, they're flashy. I really do dig that, especially the starting action scene in a train. That's loved it. But simple overall story. Well, actually, it's the weird and the bad who are after the map. The good is actually bounty hunter who's hunting the weird, and to a certain degree the bad also. But then, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, the good actually teams up with the weird. Well, kind of. Just like in the old movie, the weird is trying to lose the good because he wants the treasure all by himself. Understandable. Greed. That's a great character flaw in movies, especially bad people. Greed. But yeah, overall the movie has got that South Korean flair, that style, that... Probably my biggest gripe with this movie was the bad's hairstyle. That's that South Korean cover half your face boy band look. That's that one thing that always puts me off in South Korean movies. It's that hairstyle. But the movies are usually great. I don't think I've seen a bad South Korean movie to this day. I haven't seen a ton of them, but I haven't seen a bad one yet. And this one is actually really surprising me. I really love this. Just really good old-fashioned action adventure movie. It doesn't have the supernatural elements that Indiana Jones might have at times. So yeah, in that sense, it's more the good, the bad, and the weird. But just really enjoyable. I loved the action scenes. It could have maybe been a bit dense. There were some scenes that dragged maybe a little bit, but nothing that bothered me really. There's actually two cuts of the movie in this. There's the international cut and then there's Korean cut. I watched the Korean cut, that's 5 minutes longer. Apparently that one had more upbeat ending, and I really dug the ending. I was really happy with the ending, how it ended. I believe the international cut has more of a kind of darker ending. I'm really interested in checking that out too, but I'd have to say the overall tone of this movie, I think I might prefer the actual upbeat ending. Usually I like my stuff, gritty and depressing and all that, but in this case, because this felt like I said, one of those old Indiana Jones adventures. I'm talking about hunting the treasure and all that, without the traps and stuff. Yeah, I think I might prefer the upbeat ending, without even seeing the international ending. I'm gonna check it out at some point. Anyway, next movie. Next movie I got is a Western movie. Well, technically the other one was Western too, kind of. South Korean Western, but still Western. I bought this movie because I've been on a bit of a Charles Bronson bender. I've been watching a ton of Charles Bronson movies throughout the summer. I've been watching them from streaming platforms, mostly Amazon Prime, because that one has quite a few Charles Bronson movies. I had missed most of his 70s and earlier movies, so yeah, I really wanted to get into Charles Bronson because I mostly knew him as the 80s Charles Bronson. Well, obviously I'd seen Once Upon a Time in West and Death Wish. Other than that, I really hadn't seen almost any of his 70s and 60s movies. Did he do stuff in 50s? Well, if he did, I haven't heard of those either. But this was one of those movies that wasn't in those streaming platforms, so I saw this in the place and I had to get this. I actually went there and I decided, I'm gonna see if there's some Charles Bronson movies and I'm gonna pick at least one. Almost picked The Mechanic. I saw that, loved it, great, but yeah, this one I had to go with because I hadn't seen this, and it's Red Son.
Son of a bitch.
Now what makes Red Son pretty goddamn unique, this is apparently the first East meets West Western movie. As far as I know, because there's Samurai and there's Charles Bronson as regular cowboy. The Samurai is played by Toshiro Mifune, who is fantastic actor. I love him. Oh, Don't know if the light's hitting that wrong and you can't see shit, but that's my poster of Yojimbo. It's my favorite Akira Kurosawa movie, and there he is, Toshiro Mifune. Yeah, that was the name. I'm not good with names. He plays the lead. He's so goddamn good. I just watched Seven Samurai and I love him. I'm gonna start looking out for his movies too. There's too much movies, like I said at the beginning of this video. In this one, Charles Bronson is part of a gang led by Alain Delon, who is apparently some kind of French actor. Apparently also a big name back in the days. He was in, it says here, Les Samurai, which I've seen the cover. Isn't that like some kind of detective noir movie? That's also one of those movies I've always been kind of really curious about. So also this one has Ursula Anders, who was also in Dr. No. In this one, she plays a prostitute.
That goes. She's got a lot of style.
Take your dirty hands off that.
Really great role. I dug her in this movie. Anyway, Charles Bronson is part of a gang and they rob a train at the start of this movie. And in that train there's a bunch of samurais and some Japanese prime minister or something, I don't know. Japanese ambassador. And the gang steals the Japanese ambassador's some kind of priceless katana. So yeah, obviously they want it back. But also, while Charles Bronson is checking out the train, the gang betrays him and tries to blow him up. Obviously, Charles Bronson survives. Instead of the samurais whacking him, they make a deal. Charles Bronson has to help Toshiro Mifune's character to retrieve the sword. So they go on an adventure to try to get the sword back. And obviously Charles Bronson doesn't want to be there because he's a train robber. He doesn't give two shits about it. He wants revenge on the boss, but he also wants to know where the boss hid the money, because there was some money they robbed and apparently only the boss knows where it is. So there's a bit of a problem between the two, because both they have what's that word? You know, their interests kind of collide. I know there's a better way of phrasing that. I can't remember. Charles Bronson wants the boss alive at first because he wants to know where the treasure is, and Toshiro Mifune wants to kill the bad guy immediately when he sees it. And yeah, you can see this was kind of a role model for future movies, like, you know, Rush Hour. Asian guy comes to US and tries to catch a bad guy, and they had to work together, and there's colliding cultures, and there's Shanghai Noon, which was actually a Western movie. There's been lots of that type of movies after this one. Black Rain, except Michael Douglas went into Japan and worked with Ken Takakura, who played a Japanese cop. American Dragons, that one had Michael Biehn and I can't remember the Japanese actor's name. That was kind of smaller movie. Nobody really knows about that. But yeah, I believe this started that whole trend. So yeah. You can thank this, or you can curse this, if you like those movies or hate those movies. And the chemistry between Bronson and Mifune just works great. I really enjoyed watching them get to their goal with each other, with their different cultures and different ways. It had its share of a bit of humor, but it wasn't like comedy, but it was more straightforward revenge Western movie, but it did have its lighter moments too, which I really appreciated.
Make a fist. Can't you even make a fist?
I liked all the main characters, really enjoyed this. Highly enjoyable Western movie. I do recommend this if you're into 70s Western movies. This came out in 71, so it's a bit of an older movie. This was a good buy. Second best from the pile I bought. Then we get the best movie in this pile, in my opinion, and you're not gonna believe this, but it's actually a romantic comedy. No, I'm not throwing a curveball here like, it's, I don't know, fucking zombie giving head to a vampire or some shit and it's all splatter and all that. No, this was actually a really great movie. It's romantic comedy. It's got some drama elements in it too, but mostly it was kind of light-hearted. Well, I gotta say, in a kind of fucked up way. But it's not like fucked up movie. This is a movie actually that I do recommend everyone who's into romantic comedies. This is how you make a romantic comedy. Forget Pretty Woman, fuck that. Forget shit. I really don't know much romantic comedies. I've never been a guy who watches romantic comedies, but well, they all suck, and this is great. Okay, they don't suck, but the movie I'm talking about, this really blew me away. I loved this movie. I wanted to watch this immediately again, but I had to watch the other movies too. I've been wanting to see this for the longest time. I saw this as a kid for the first time, and I was like, well, this is shit. But now, as an adult, I can really appreciate this movie more, and man, did it blow me away. Barfly.
Here, keep the change. Pour yourself a drink. Go buy yourself some bubble gum. Now give everybody a new round. Yeah.
Mickey Rourke, Faye Dunaway, And Stallone! No, not that Stallone. I'm talking about the Stallone who has all the talent in the family. Frank Stallone. I don't know if you know the author and poet Charles Bukowski, but he wrote this movie and this is loosely based on his life. Now, what's the idea of this movie? Well, Mickey Rourke is a barfly. He hangs out in bars. He's drunk. Everyone's pretty much drunk in this movie. Daytimes he's mostly drinking at home and writing poems, and during nighttime he's drinking at a bar and fighting. Usually with Frank Stallone's character.
Okay, Eddie.
What's okay, you fucking rummy? What's okay?
He actually loses to Frank Stallone's character usually, but one night he actually manages to beat him. So after that, Frank Stallone, being the petty asshole he is, throws him out of the bar. So Mickey Rourke's character Henry has to go and find another bar. So he goes in there and he sees this drunk woman who's played by Faye Dunaway, and they're both pretty much alcoholics, and they start hanging out with each other. Love is kind of hard thing to put into words. I guess you could call it love. Two people who enjoy drinking and want to be together.
I can't stand people. I hate them.
Oh, yeah?
My barflies came in. They're afraid of the washing machine. Well, at least this one is. This one doesn't give a shit. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, it's a pretty... the reason why I really dug this movie is because it's relatable. Me, I've been drinking a lot during my younger years at least. I still do drink, but not as much. You could say I'm kind of semi-alcoholic. I call myself semi-alcoholic because my body couldn't really handle that. If it could, I think I'd be drinking now instead of making videos, but it couldn't. Man, I need to take breaks. I really need to take breaks. But when I spent time in my favorite watering hole back in the days, which just shut down New Year's Eve, I was there drinking my last drinks. Love that place, now it's gone. Sucks. Anyway, back in my 20s when I was drinking like sometimes daily. I sat there, I knew all those people, everyone was their own like character, everyone has their own thing. Even though everyone was kind of drunk, most people were kind of drunk. After you spend years in the same watering hole, you just know people. You might not even remember why, but you just know people. And this movie, the bar where Mickey Rourke's character liked to hang out, I could go back into my favorite bar. Well, now it's shut down, but if I'd go there, I think I could point people and say, that character from this movie is that one, that character from this movie is that one. This felt almost like someone had shot my life, to an extent. I wasn't a poet, I was just a drunk part. But yeah, really relatable to a drunk bastard like me. Well, I still drink, but not as much. But just watching this was this kind of like a fourth wall breaking meta experience. Kind of like watching what I used to do a lot. Although I was always working, and I suffered my hangovers there, and I cleaned my apartment, at least a little better than in this movie, and I had clean boxers. Well, sometimes you go on a longer bender and you kind of forget to change your clothes and shower, and but for the most part, I had clean boxers, okay? Just watching this movie, you can kind of feel the dirtiness in this. It's so great, it kind of makes me want to go full alcoholic. Although there's nothing great about it, but when you're drunk, you don't give a shit. But also, next day, you can just suffer a hangover and come back to the land of regular people. That's the good thing about booze. Not like drugs, you're not sucking someone's dick in a crappy old gas station bathroom just to get a hit. No. Alcoholics are kind of the royalty of people who are addicted to stuff. Yeah, and this really showed how you can make really interesting movies from such a small premise like a day-to-day life of drunk people. I'm telling you this, when you go to a bar, you could find the most smartest person on this planet, the dumbest person on this planet, strongest person on this planet, the weakest person on this planet. And that's not necessarily 4 different people. It could all be just one person. That's the magic of bars. I swear to God, bars, they're like magic worlds. Don't believe me? Ever heard of that place called Mordor? You know, with Sauron and his one big stupid eye. I've been there. Don't believe me? Go to a different town. I went, and don't go into the center of the town. Go to the outskirts of the town. Pick a seedy looking place, you know, kind of which looks like this one only has those regulars in it. I went in, walked in through the front door. There were like 10 pairs of Sauron eyes just looking at me. Every customer who was in that bar were sitting on the bar counter, and there was the bartender. The minute I stepped in, every fucking cunt in that bar turned around and stared at me, and there was an awkward silence. Basically what I had to do was make myself invisible. The second I realized I'm an outsider, I took my gaze down on the floor, and I tried to be as quiet and as not intrusive as I could, and I just kinda slowly skittled at the end of the bar counter, looked at the bartender, said beer, gave him the money, tried not to get beaten up, went into one of the back corner tables, drank my beer, got the fuck out of there, and lived to tell the tale. If that's not Mordor, I don't know what the fuck is. Bars are magic lands. Bars are Narnia, bars are Mordor, bars are Middle-earth, bars are Star Wars land. Whatever that is. Tatooine. Sometimes they're really dry places. They could be Tatooine. Anyway, this is getting way too long. Barfly. I love this movie. This was great. This was fuck. I might actually put this in my top 10. I'd have to knock down Quest for Holy Grail by Monty Python, but I love it. I'm gonna watch it again. So relatable. It's just the kind of romantic relationship that the main characters develop that I've seen probably 100 times in local bars. Most realistic portrayal of drunk people in any movie, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Quick special mention to Mickey Rourke. He's almost unidentifiable. I mean, you can hear his voice, but his voice is even kind of I think he's trying to imitate Charles Bukowski, I think, and just the mannerisms he's moving in this movie, it's so fantastic. I can't do it, but the dude looks like he's really been on a bender. Anyway, I'm gonna quit this video here. Fuck off, and I'll fuck off, and I'll meet you back here when I upload more crap, and support your local bars. I lost mine. That sucks. I made a video about it, not gonna go there anymore. Movie store. It's just, there's too many movies. I'll never be able to see those. All those movies I want to watch. I'm 41, I'm finished drunk. Our usual life expectancy is like 45 if we're lucky, so 4 years to watch all those movies. Okay, probably a bit more, but after 45, it's all bonus. Goodbye.